Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's been 3 long weeks here at SRA.
Welcome back to the best racing in North America, home of the SRA GT3 Team Series. 60 minutes of action-packed door-to-door racing, 6 divisions, 6 different championships on the line. Let's get ready for some action tonight.
An incident. Turn. We have Boardman at a yellow. Looks like he's dropping down positions there on the chicane as a bunch of cars are coming through.
Byron's going to take a dive in the Lexus.
Johnson looking to go down the inside of Maxwell.
And we're off and away for SRA.
Good evening, SRA. Welcome back to another great night of racing here at SRA. Week 2 of Division 4, hosted at Spa. I'm your main host, Caden McCoy. With me here is my boy Maniacal Toaster. What you got to say today? Yeah, absolutely. Let's pop over here, take a quick look at this track. I have not raced it too much, but we have Spa here. Looks like it's about a 7 kilometer or 4.3 mile long track. What you got to say about it? Any fun corners? Any interesting corners to watch out during the race tonight?
Pins, 2 chicanes, and then there's a couple corners that require trail braking. There's a couple corners that require you to be flat out and just take them as fast as you absolutely can to get the best time that you can. And then there's
Hey,
some
we
that,
can't see your toaster.
Yeah,
Turn up your Discord.
it just got fixed.
Cool.
Yeah, sorry about that, Toasty. I was about to mention that. They didn't hear anything you said, so
Fantastic. What was the last thing I said that you heard, Demon?
it would have been into the track section there.
Oh, okay. So basically, in summary, I'm really excited to see this track because it's got a mix of a bunch of different requirements to make accurate lap times. You have flat out sections, you have super technical sections that require trail braking, ideal lines, and then you also have hairpins and chicanes. So tying all of that together, or tying all those abilities together, and then combining that with the fact that you have to have a bunch of turns that lead into other turns. So looking at 7 leads into 8, which leads into 9. Coming out of 9, you have to have the right line going into 10. Going into 10, if you mess up that line, going into 11, it kind of throws you off, and it just builds on each other through the entire track. So there is no, Paul Ricard had that long straight where you could really take a breath. This track does not have that. It has a long straight, but it's not really a straight, and you don't really get to take a breath.
Yeah,
So it's seeing how everyone puts it together.
It seems like it's going to be a real interesting track. I have seen some blazing fast lap times sitting here in the been monitoring the pre-race D4 server here. Looks like we had one guy, Latuzo, which is absolutely no surprise at all, breaking into the 217s. I think he put a 217.9 down while just practicing in here. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can hold that up tonight, see how he does. But let's pop over into team standings here. With no surprise at all, GB3 is on the top of the list. The looks like that team was able to keep it ahead, even though Listozo really ran ahead with the race last week and was able to put it out in front of everyone. But him and Dawson Tremeling sit on top of our list right now. We got Baseline Racing, Master Chief in second place there with Listoza, and Andre Lloyd sitting 5 points behind him. Any teams that you're looking forward to really keep an eye on this season?
Honestly, this early in the season, it's hard to say which teams I'm really looking for. I mean, like as you said, Lustoza really ran a wicked fast lap. GB3 is definitely known for running fast laps. He's an excellent racer. It's too early for me to really pick a team that I'm really saying absolutely with just one race in. But I'm curious to see how this plays out with this race, and then the next one. I think we're going to start seeing some separation between the teams, some significant point gaps.
Absolutely. I'm popping over into our driver's standings here. Looks like obviously Listoza winning that last week's race is on top with 112 points so far. Steven Smalley second place last week. Corey Sarcone, all people to keep an eye out on. GB3 just barely missing podium last week, comes in at 4th place with 85 points to start his season out. All these people are going to be fun to keep an eye out on throughout the stream and see how they do tonight on a brand new track.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's really interesting is, as every SRA fan probably knows, the hot lap leaderboard, you can kind of keep track of individual times people running this track leading into the race, but really how well do the racers take that time and then apply it to a real race situation around other drivers, around a track that's changing with your fuel load changing, because obviously you can't just reset every time you crash. So you're running on more worn tires. If you make a mistake, take a different part of the track, trying to pass people, trying to make sure you're not passed, running defense and offense at the same time. It's not just the fastest lap, it's the fastest consistent lap, and it's fastest consistent lap, and being able to adapt to those changing situations. I'm really curious to see how that all plays out.
Absolutely, and it's going to be interesting seeing with these drivers only having a week to prepare for this race. Last track that we had here was a little bit longer to get set up and get ready for, but as the season goes on, having a week to get acclimated to a track and try to put down some fast and consistent times can be proven difficult at most times.
Yeah, that's a good point that you mentioned, which I actually forgot about, was Paul Ricard. Some of the racers had, easily 3 weeks to prepare if they got the clue early and started run laps. That's compared to just a 1 week turn time. That is quite a lot of practice. So yeah.
Absolutely, it's going to be interesting going through, seeing which drivers. We got a wet race coming up next week, which is always going to prove interesting, seeing how drivers manage on the rain. I know me personally, I'm not a proponent for rain races. I know we have some that think it really evens out the lane here, which I could agree. But man, do I not look forward to our wet races.
See, I actually have to disagree with you there. I don't want to say I prefer wet races, but I do like the balance it brings, and I like that it requires a little bit more control as opposed to there's less room for error, which can get frustrating, but at the same time, it pays off when you stay cool, calm, and collected, and you just it's like, hey, this is my line, this is what I need to do, these are my breaking points, and you hit them. In the dry, changing as the evening more or less goes and as your fuel lightens, you tend to be able to push those markers a little bit. But in the wet, as long as it stays consistently wet, you really don't have as much allowance to push those, which, I mean, I don't know why, but for some reason that rings a little bit better for me than some other people, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting. Like you said, it definitely takes a lot more of reining yourself back and
yeah. Pun intended.
Exactly, and trying to hold back throughout the entire race. I mean, a lot of us, especially over here at OBDA, praise a good hot lap section all throughout, and it definitely turns to be tough after a while. Trying to hold yourself back, thinking you can squeeze that last tenth or keep going, but it's going to be interesting to see how it goes next week. But
yeah, as each week leads into the next week, new tracks, new tactics, obviously, and then the weather changes. I think that's one of the nice things. Well, there's several nice things, but I think that's one of the significant benefits of a well-established league like SRA, is that it's not going to be the same weather, the same tracks. It's going to be a different track with different weather, different things thrown at you, different things to look forward to, different things to prepare for, different setups you have to run. It's a lot of change, which can lead to some very interesting racing.
Absolutely. My server was a little bit behind here, but it looks like we have the race or the qualifying up and going here now. Looks like we're a couple minutes behind, but we'll pop over and see what people are putting down for some times here. Looks like we have our silver drivers out qualifying. I'm showing a 2:18.6 from In Valley up there with the silver drivers as far as speeds here. Looks like we have Ethan Marvin hot on his tail with a 2:18.7.
Right there. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, it looks like a 2:18.6 is one of our faster D6 or D4 silvers times right now. going on. Going to be a tough race. It's crazy seeing these type of speeds in silver division, but that definitely comes from my P7 heart here. Definitely wouldn't be putting up these kind of times.
Yeah, no, there's no way I can run these times either. But I do love watching them. It's almost like, I mean, it is like watching artists. Most, if not every single time they hit the perfect line going in and out of corners, they seem to have the balance there. It's just crazy. Crazy how smooth it is.
Absolutely. It definitely goes to show and prove time and time again that these people definitely deserve to be in P4 here.
Yeah, maybe one day.
I'm gonna say, I'm not planning on holding my breath on that. It looks like Austin Whitescarver jumped up too. He's got a 2:18.9, just barely making it into that 2:18. But nonetheless, I mean, we're seeing some real fast drivers out here in the silver division.
That seems to be really close. 218s, 219s, and low 220s, all the way to mid 220s. And that's going to close out your silver division. Oh no, there's going to be more silvers since they popped the 10-minute window.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see what they can do as our gold drivers start rolling out there, seeing what they can put down on this track today. Looks like we have an entire line going there out of pits. It's definitely you were talking earlier about the pit exit being interesting. What's going on with that?
So the pit exit with this one, it's incredibly bumpy, and then it also has, you go flat out coming out of it, and then it's got a turn to the right. You kind of got to watch the understeer, especially with cold tires, and then it goes back to the left and you hit more bumps. It exits right at the end of everyone coming out of what I'm going to call the loop, but the downhill uphill part. It's not a difficult section, but it's definitely pit exit you have to pay attention to, because it will bounce you right out of the lane limits, and then if there's anything you don't want on Spa, it is a drive-through penalty for breaking the pit rules or track limits.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be a brutal. I know this timer or this pit entry is a bit of a brutal one.
Oh, it absolutely is. It wraps around from one side of the track to the other side of the track. I didn't actually set a stopwatch, but if I remember correctly, it was a solid 30 to 40 seconds to wrap around from pit entry to my pit stop, and then to get back out. And I mean, that's a drive-through penalty, no matter how good you're doing. No matter how good your lap times work, if you end up with a drive-through penalty, that is going to absolutely destroy or whatever position you're currently holding.
I'm gonna say, especially if we see some of these drivers really pushing and end up getting a drive-through 30, that's really gonna hurt their race.
That absolutely would, yeah. You're 45 seconds to a minute for just the getting through the pit, and then 30 seconds. Oh my gosh, yeah. Minutes and a half.
2:18.6 flat is going to be our fastest time from Maxwell currently. I'm sure we'll see some of those times start filing away. We'll see if Lostozo can put back down his 2:17.9 I saw from him earlier. That would give him a pole position starting out this race again, and see.
I gotta say, pole position on this track, that would be. I mean, obviously that would be ideal, but looking at the start of the track, going into the loop, and then the first chicane, like pole position, if you can get ahead of everybody, nail the lead and then the first chicane, that would really set you up very nicely to get ahead of the big pack and the obvious porting effect that happens with every race. And try as you might, you can't control other drivers, and I mean, accidents happen, and we're all human. So I can imagine the benefit of whoever ends up in pole position in the first 5 races. That should be something like you should really be fist bumping yourself, patting yourself on the back. That's going to be something, especially for this race.
Absolutely. It's going to be a tough race. I'm sure it's going to be close. We're going to see some fun battles tonight. And I know we were talking earlier, 10 minutes to qualify on this track, and when we're seeing over 2-minute lap times is tough to try to get a good lap. You really have to be on it and get warmed up in time to be able to really put 1 or maybe 2 good laps down if you're quick enough off the line.
Yep, true. Yeah, 200%. Yeah, and your outlap is eating a good 2.5, 3 minutes, depending on how quickly you can make it out of the pits.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially as some of these drivers filed out at the 10-minute mark. I mean, trying to get out there, put your gap in correctly, and trying to get some laps down. I mean, realistically, you're going to have one good lap out here, and that's going to be it for you.
Couldn't agree more. And actually, you just brought up a really good point. The gap that you want to have between drivers, usually I think is roughly between 3 and 5 seconds, depending on how well you know the other drivers that you're around and stuff like that. With this track, I've noticed, especially on the hot lap leaderboard, is that the track it's so long, it's got a few sections, and a really good time in Sector 2 alone is about 1 minute, a few seconds, give or take. And across the leaderboard into each division, the lap times between different sectors have been so different that you could be off by as much as 2.5 seconds in one sector and still post a competitive lap time to someone else who's 2 seconds faster than you, let's say Sector 2, and still post a really, really close, if not better, lap time just because the other 2 sectors are also so large. So that 3 to 5 second gap can very quickly evaporate, or it can turn into a recording effect where you're faster in Sector 2, but the car you're chasing is super slow in Sector 2, and then you kind of run into each other, and then now you're potentially ruined, or now you have to try to get another one.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking over at these hot lap leaderboards, I mean, this silver is really putting up a fight this week. It looks like our top 3 starting positions is still silver. Looks like Sarah Cohen broke into 4th place though with 2:18.7, but he is not able to touch any of those 2:18.6 times that Max Webb put down. We may see some silver representation right at the front of the track this week.
Dude, that would be interesting. It's not completely unheard of to have silver split starting ahead of summer all of gold, but it is definitely refreshing to see that shakeup as the whole, like we were talking about earlier, where your hot lap is not the same as your necessarily race pace or your ability to qualify. Because, like we said, you only have a couple of good times, good laps, good timing, and be invalidated and you're wrapping around for a solid 2.5 minutes trying to get back to the starting line to run it again. You just gotta be on your toes.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially with some of these drivers pushing times as fast as they are. I mean, they're trying to run up against the track limits as hard as they can, so it is more easy than not to invalidate a lap time, especially if you do that early in the track. That can hurt. It looks like we had Sarah Cohn break up into the top with a 2:18.4. So it looks like we will have a gold starting, but we'll see if that 2 and 3 position can be filled by some of our other drivers out right now.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. We still have 2 minutes 30, so anybody who's at least within, 10 seconds-ish, 15 seconds of the start line should be able to go do one more lap. There's still quite a few drivers who are not posting time yet. That's either invalidating or, I'm actually just invalidating. That just speaks to the frustration of this track.
Absolutely. I'm going to say, like I was saying, and just kind of mirroring that point of the track limits being so strict on something like this, it's hard to get up a time fast enough, and you have so little time. I'm sure that weighs heavily too, and the stress of trying to get a competitive time, because it seems like this track has some interesting passing points, but it's definitely got a lot of technical sections that are going to be tough to catch up with other drivers.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's definitely not a narrow track, so the space is there. I mean, in terms of just physical space. But with the technical tracks and then the lines, the corners bleeding into each individual corner, or the leading corner, the next corner, like you really have to make sure you're on the right line. If you're going to go to try to pass, that's fine, but make sure that you have the right line. You're not sacrificing time in the next corner, because that pass would mean absolutely nothing if you lose it in the next corner.
Absolutely, and mirroring kind of what you said earlier about the time differentials between splits being so different, is going to be interesting to see. I mean, we'll probably see a lot of drivers catching up quick, but losing it on the next sector as people are faster or slower.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, I think we were talking about this earlier too, especially with the battle of defense versus offense. Like, do you take the ideal line or do you run a defensive line? If you run a defensive line, are you going to be able to hold the ideal line enough to keep the lead? Or is someone who's not battling you currently but gaining time since you're battling going to be able to find an ideal line and then work themselves into the battle as well? And a three-way battle leads to a potential four-way battle, and then you just have potential for catastrophe. You could just completely blow your race by ending up into a wall.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like we are last 10 seconds. We'll see who
Here we go.
who pops over. It looks like number 44 here, Smalley, may be able to squeeze it by. Not quite.
It looks like Osborne was able to throw down a qualifying time of 2:19.6, puts him at 23rd. He's got. Did he make it across the line? I didn't see where he was.
Number 44 did not. Got a couple of our last guys putting. Ben Chen with a 2:18.8 is definitely chasing down his time. He is real close to his fastest time. They're kind of bouncing around in his delta there, watching him. Looks like Santos has a nice lead. He put down a 2:19.0, trying to make up those last couple of positions before he starts the race. But if this leaderboard is anything to say, it looks like we have Sercone at first and Maxwell and Valley coming 2 and 2nd and 3rd, all with blazing fast lap times to start this race out. We'll see how those change up throughout the race and see if some of these drivers can hold on to this fast lead all throughout.
Yeah, I'm really eager to see how this race starts. To see how aggressive everyone decides to be right out of the gate. If they want to just take the first lap, cautious, or if they want to just literally try to barrel in there because they feel like maybe they have better racecraft after racing in the first race with some of these individuals. You tend to, recognize the names and some of the people that you're racing close door to door with, and therefore you kind of like, oh, I know this guy can easily, overtake in a certain section, or this guy has a weakness for me, being too close to him kind of throw his nerves off or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was gonna say, especially, I mean, we're second race here, 3-4 races in. We're really gonna start learning everyone else's time coming in, and we'll be good to see. But it looks like we just finished up our qualifying. Looks like Santos may have came up just a little bit. He just finished. So our top 5 lineup is going to be Sercone with a 2:18.3. We have Maxwell with a 2:18.6, Valley with a 2:18.6.2, Smalley with a 2:18.7.8, and Santos coming at the back there.
That is fantastically close quality times.
It's definitely impressive to watch as we come through all this. We're counting down for the race here. Got about a minute and 55 seconds before we start.
Ladies and gentlemen, grab your popcorn, your favorite drink, and get ready for a race.
Yeah, I'm sure all these drivers are up and ready to go here. Gonna go for an hour-long race here. It gonna be interesting. I don't know what have you seen for fuel consumption? Been a lot of hills and
Oh, that's another good point, actually. I I've heard this is I haven't actually done an hour-long race. I'm kind of embarrassed to say that, but I've heard a full tank may or may not get you there. I've heard some people say that they've gotten really close in the half-hour race and doing the math that a full tank should get them there. And then I've heard some people say that they were going to splash a little bit of extra just in case. I was like, I mean, I wouldn't want to pit twice. I wouldn't want to underdo my fuel. So personally, I would do a little bit extra in the pit stop just to make sure I had it, because like we talked about the pit entry and how much time would be wasted there. I was like, I'd take an extra 5-10 seconds to get a few extra liters versus taking an extra 45 seconds to get back in the pit.
yeah, absolutely. It's like we were talking earlier. It's going to be devastating seeing people miss out on 30-second penalties. We'll have to see as things get handed out towards the start here. Sector 1 is always the killer for these type of things. We'll have to see how turn 1 goes, but it's definitely something to keep an eye out for.
So in the practice race, turn 1 wasn't the hairpin. Turn 1 was the downhill. Oh gosh, I think it's technically turn 2 on our map. I think that's how this race is going to start, which was actually probably a large part of the reason there was no turn 1 incidents in the practice race last night that I was in. But you were going to say something. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just going to say, it looks like we're out on our formation lap. Everyone's going to start lining up here. Always interesting to see how the different divisions do. Some people I've noticed really like braking hard. I've heard braking hard is a good way to try to keep your tire temps up and going as we line up. I'm going to sacrifice a little bit of that brake performance, but I think it's less wear on your tires. Or some of these people that are just going to drive straight through and hope that we stay easy.
Yeah.
Like we have 41 people that signed on to try out this race today. We'll see how many end up, if we have any disqualifications or if we see anyone drop off.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, last race we had 3 drivers, I believe, if I remember correctly, drop off for, unknown reasons, presumed technical difficulties or hardware failures, which is incredibly unfortunate. You plan, or you practice for at least a week, and you run, I don't know, some of these guys are running hundreds of laps in that time, tweaking their setups and tweaking their lines and tweaking their racecraft, and then, sometimes stuff just happens.
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking to Tomato today, and what was it? He ran over 200 laps this last week getting ready for this next race.
Yeah, it was something over 230, 250. Yeah, it was quite a few laps. And his hot lap times showed that he definitely earned it. And he's qualified pretty well too. Well, as well as I'm sure he'd hope to, but he's also in D4. So for those that don't know, Tomato is a D6 alumni. So last season he was in D6, up and coming, learned a bunch, got super fast, and got promoted to D4 at the start of this season. So we love to see him, as Kate and I were also D6 alumni. We love to see the old D6 crew running up in D4 here, and Tomato's one of those.
So we also have Picard sitting here in position 16 to start his race off. We'll have to track and see how he does throughout the race. Another fellow D6 driver that obviously unloaded a lot of sandbags throughout last season.
Oh my word, he really did.
I was gonna say, I guess I should have started with a couple of those myself and got faster, but made that grave mistake.
I'd see, and I didn't realize that they were actually part of the system, the balancing system. When you do your first season, is you're supposed to load up on sandbags and as much cinder blocks as you could put in your trunk, and then you're supposed to unload them as you go. I didn't do that, and I guess obviously you and I are both in the same boat, and now we're just looking at it and going, man, Must be nice, guys. I don't have anything to unload.
These guys definitely put in a lot of time to improve their lap times throughout the season.
Oh, yeah.
Worked really hard with it. And obviously it paid off, or didn't, depending on how you look at it, now that they're stuck in D4 racing up against these other fast drivers.
Oh, man, right? They're actually having to work for it. Curtis Adams, position 31, is also a D6 alumni running in D4 this season. Curtis Adams and Picard are teammates this season. He, as D6 alumni, totally not playing favorites because that would be, I'd be frowned upon, are really hoping that they do really well.
Absolutely. It looks like we're taking this last corner going into the final straight before our race line here, so it looks like in about 2 seconds, and everyone is almost off here. We should be lining up here in just a second. I was looking at the wrong line there.
Yeah, here we go.
Say everyone is lined up 2 by 2, which is sometimes the hardest part of the track is trying to get up lined up with everyone after we've all been dropping around. But
yeah, that yo-yo and accordion of, hey, you're single file to double file and you're 20th or later. Oh my gosh, that's you're hammering through the gears trying to catch up.
Absolutely. I was gonna say it's a big accordion effect, and say we should be taking off right now. So start of race 2 for season 7, division 4 of SRA. Looks like we instantly had an overtake there. It looks like Maxwell squeezed out in front of Sercone to take first. Valley is right on Sercone's hind end trying to take that position. He is right up on him, maybe even being tapping him just a little bit going through that race.
We'd love to see that aggression coming out of the start line, especially going down that hill that, as we said, it's going to be, I feel like that's going to be the place where we're going to see the most invalidations, just because the line is generous, the track limits are generous, but it's so easy to have your car get thrown off balance, especially if you're trying to battle someone going into or out of that section.
Yeah, absolutely. It's looking like Maxwell's taking an early lead. It looks like he got bumped out of the track a little bit on turn 2 or 3, but Sercone wasn't able to hold on that little bit of time it gave him, and it seems like Maxwell's just running away right now. He's already 1.3 seconds up on the rest of the pack, so he's definitely been putting his practice in.
That's an incredible commanding lead for this early. If he can nail sector 3 going into his second lap, he'll only be able to build on that lead as everyone is just battling behind him. That's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out and how the sector 3 plays out here.
Absolutely. It looks like he's starting early with our, I guess we can start calling it the Listoza start, to seeing how the last race went, but it looks like he's starting to pull. He's got about a second gap, so he's lost a little bit of it, but he's definitely out enough in front of those drivers. Sercone and Valley are going to start battling it. They are right on each other's tail, trying to pull that position. It looks like Valley is not giving up this fight very easy. He's going to continue to fight for it, but
good for him for holding his own. Looking closer to the back of the pack, it looks like it's not so that little squirrely there around the last corner. It looks like everyone's staying pretty close together, but I don't see a whole lot of battles as of yet. There was a tap.
The pit is now open.
So our pit window just open. We'll see how many of those drivers have to take out a little bit of that early damage that they may have suffered from turn 1 there. I didn't see anything too major, a couple little taps here and there, but
yeah, it's Selena Boonstra was trading paint with somebody. I didn't catch who it was going into the last corner, it looked like, but it looks like nobody lost their got too much damage. They're still running, so
yeah, absolutely. I'm sure D4 is a little bit more attuned to driving door to door, but I can tell you firsthand how stressful it gets throughout some of those those laps, being right next to someone going through corners, not taking your ideal line that you'd ideally like to, that you practiced that hundreds of times, evidently, from some of these drivers.
Oh yeah, of course. The not being able to take your ideal line, and then also not being sure if you're going to be able to even make the corner, depending on how far off you line or how far off your line you are, and it's basically a game of chicken. Do you want to let off, or do you want to wait to see if they let off first? I mean, if you don't let off, what's the outcome?
Absolutely, it's a very tough balancing game sitting here trying to figure out. It looks like Lastoza has lost one position since his start. We'll see if he can continue to pull through like he did last week with that consistency that we've come and started to expect from him.
Love to see. I mean, so far I'm scanning through the crowd here. I don't see a whole lot of incidents. I've seen a couple people invalidate their laps as they're going around the track, but I can't tell. Oh gosh, 22. Was it 22? Just went off track into the grass and came back on.
Yeah, it looks like our definite
Oh
SRA.
no! Tomato just got hit by Chen. Based on what I can see. Where's Tomato at?
So yeah, let's see what happened to
Run
him
that
here.
replay back.
Yeah, absolutely. So it looks like he's kind of sitting off on his own here. Definitely pushing those track limits as hard as he can.
Oh, we have another backup. Oh my gosh. Coming into, it looks like going to the last corner.
Just squeezed by him, and he got tapped from a green Ferrari. I didn't quite catch who that was.
Oh my goodness.
Lots of action out here. Looks like GB3 is right on the tail of Escott here.
Oh no.
Not giving him any time to sit around.
Tomato just teleported to the pits. I'm curious to see what happened. I saw him sitting on the side of the track. That must have been quite an accident to have to teleport into the pits. And it looks like Ben Chen is going into the pits now. He's just pitted. He was involved in that fender bender with Tomato earlier. What else do we have?
Yeah, we have several drivers pitting right now.
Oh, wow,
Looks like
yeah.
White Scarver is pitted, Walkowitz is pitted, Schmitzer is in the pits, Chen and Daniels, Garrity, Tomato are all sitting in the pits right now. Either I'm sure some of these drivers are just trying to get their early pits out of the way, and others others may have taken some bad damage from this, but it looks like Valley was able to pass up Sarcone and is trying to close in on Maxwell. Doesn't have much of a lead going on right now.
So with all of those individuals in the pit, I guess it depends on what they're pitting for, like you said. If they're pitting for damage, if they're just pitting to get out of the way, because I've definitely taken part of the pitting early to get it out of the way so that you don't have to fight in the middle of the pack, because it just increases the chances of an incident or accident. So get it out of the way, and then you end up just hot lapping by yourself, which is traditionally when you put down the best times.
Absolutely. It looks like this AMG was able to close in on the Porsche, and he is right on his tail coming down and through. They have been back and forth non-stop as soon as he got past Sarcone there. Looks like this may be an interesting battle forming throughout the race here. They're definitely very close in times. Looks like Maxwell put down a 2:29, and Valley was able to put down a screen 2:22. This is going to be a full fuel pace, I assume, unless some of these drivers are taking half and half.
Oh, that's actually an interesting point too. I wonder how many people are doing that. It's a little bit after the fact, but going into the last chicane, it looks like Elspass outbraked Adams going to the last chicane and was able to squeeze past him and going into the turn 5. It looks like he's able to hold his lead.
Yeah, it looks like I'm trying to figure out who this green Ferrari is here. Dive bomb Maxwell a little bit and ends up getting bumped back.
Oh wow, that did not pay off then.
Yeah, no, he got bumped back a couple of positions there. Looks like Dawson Tremling, teammates along with GB3 there, has put down the fastest lap so far with a 2:20.055. We'll see how those improve, but that is definitely for lots of fuel is going to be a very consistent pace if you can keep it up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've been focusing on Jess Osborne here for a little bit. He's got to be, I mean, from my perspective, he's got to be loving life. He's a good 2.5 seconds, two and a half seconds behind the next person in front of him. But he's got plenty of room to just hot lap and play down his best time. So I'm curious to see if he can bring his lap times down, close that gap, and maybe play that as a tactic to keep himself in the clear away from incidents and accidents.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you were saying before, it's a bit of a balance. It's nice being out there on your own that you can just kind of hot lap as fast as you can and try to catch up with some of those drivers. But it is definitely tempting to be up there with the battle. Maxwell is setting a 2:19.5. Looks like we have Maxwell, Valley, and Sarah Cohn, top 3, all breaking into the 2:19s already, which honestly I did not expect this early in the race.
That is fantastic time for full race field.
Let's say Maxwell and Valley is definitely going to be a fun one to keep up throughout this race. They are right on each other's tails. I think we're seeing a lot of what you were saying where it looks like Sector 2 Valley has been pulling through, but I think Sector 3 is where Maxwell's big strength lies.
Disparity between the sectors? Yeah, absolutely. It looks like, if I'm seeing this correctly, Ruzik is trying to pull a move on Lloyd up, and Ruzik, no, that's Boonstra. Boonstra pulled a pass on Ruzik going into the first chicane, and it looks like she pulled out ahead of him. It was very well played.
Yeah, we got a little bit of a train going on here with Boonstra, Lloyd, and Ruzik all probably swapping spots, trying to tow each other into faster. I've definitely noticed for me personally, getting in these trains, either it's the worst thing that you can happen, just because everyone's kind of slowing each other down, or if you get 3 decently paced drivers, you really start pushing each other through some of those sectors.
Oh, you really do, yeah. And then that ties back into what we were saying about the paces in individual sectors. If you guys can leapfrog each other or play off of your weaknesses in other sectors and someone else's strengths, you can really make up some time. Post some personal best, even with full fuel. If you have somebody paving the path for you, then man, it can really be a huge advantage.
Absolutely, and definitely one of those things to keep an eye out on. I mean, alien times do exist for a reason, so there seems to be, at least for me, and I'm sure most of these D4 drivers, there's always time to be found throughout these sections, and following another quick driver could be a good way of doing that.
I mean, yeah, speaking of our D6 roots, that's definitely where I got faster. I got coaching from Picard, Tomato, Adams, and then also coaches from SRA. I mean, anybody who's faster than me, so the list was quite long. But all of them helped me in different ways. Some of them in the same ways, just reinforcing things I already could have known or did know, but didn't know how to apply it. And this is the best place to learn, is on the track with other drivers in real time. Just send it.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like checking back in with Listoza towards the front here. He is made back up 2 positions. He had dropped back 1, and now it seems like he made one in position 6 here. So it seems like his consistency has been kept up, and we'll see where he kind of leads throughout this race.
Hey, if I'm not mistaken, we are down at least 1 driver. I don't see Tomato on our roster anymore, unless my roster is not updated correctly. I wonder if he took too much damage and called it.
I think you're right. I'm not seeing him on our times here. He may have taken some serious damage. It always sucks to see, especially someone like him putting 200 plus laps down in a week, trying to get ready for a race like this, taken out so early. One
Yeah,
of those,
that's incredibly unfortunate.
part of racing, but when you dump as much time as you have to stay in the D4 ranks as these gentlemen do, it's I'm sure very, very aggravating to miss out on a race that early.
I have to imagine it's, yeah, all I can say is I absolutely agree. That's got to be devastating. Especially if it, and I don't know what actually happened, but especially if it's not your fault that you were taken out, if it was a hardware issue all the way down to like getting taken out by someone else, that's just got to be like all the more frustrating. But wish him the best.
Absolutely. Hopefully he can pull out next week and get even faster than he already has. Definitely could see him in the future being another SRA alien with as much time as he dedicates to the cause of the hot lap.
Hot lap for life.
Exactly. Let's say it doesn't seem like our top three has changed too much. I'm definitely seeing a lot of fluctuating. It looks like Valley is falling behind. He's got a 0.8 second disparity behind Maxwell there, but I think we're going into his faster sector as we've been seeing. So we'll see if those times start falling down, but it looks like him and Maxwell have been kind of yo-yoing the whole time. Maxwell just barely being able to keep it ahead throughout the entire race. It's, 15 minutes into the race and we're not seeing much change up here.
I guess maybe they, like as we were saying before, maybe they got into their hot lap zone, and they're just able to concentrate on laying down the best times with that gap you said that the leader built, over a 1 second gap, like pretty much right at the start of the race. Like that's got to be just heaven right there. But fresh track, you're out there by yourself and just literally putting it down.
Absolutely, but kind of countering that point, I can't imagine that the adrenaline's got to be flowing a lot. Headed out towards the start of the race, trying to push it as fast as you can, get ahead of some of these other drivers could definitely lead to some bad mistakes throughout the race.
That is it. Yep, you're absolutely right. So, going back to a little bit of potential battles here, it looks like 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th place, and 14th place, they're all within, it looks like a second and a half of each other. They're spaced, but they're also, if you lose a tenth, maybe 2/10 in a corner or two because you missed your line, there's potential for some serious overtake in this section here.
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
On Eastcott, and then, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, it looks like Toady and Eastcott are right next to each other here going through the corner. Picard is following behind him, but I think he's going to be able to catch up with this battle going on. It definitely slows you down a lot trying to stay ahead of some of these drivers.
It really does.
Through the different sections.
Oh, look, check this out. 18th, 19th, and 20th look like they're all part of the same conglomerate based on their liveries. They've got Air, Barker, and Harold just following each other around. That's pretty cool to see.
That's where the real tough racing starts coming in, especially if there's a little bit of a pace disparity sitting in it. You definitely don't want to spin someone out from your conglomerate going on.
No, you don't. Checking back in on the pits, Ben Chen is still in the pits. I wonder if I don't know what's going on with him. That's a long pit stop.
It looks like Scusa and GTG are very close to each other as well. Got one of the rare Lamborghini drivers trying to hold it ahead of the overwhelming popular Ferrari this season. And seems to be doing a good job of it.
Good for them. I'm a Ferrari fanboy, but man, I'm rooting for anybody who's not in a Ferrari because kudos to you. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
Rodriguez. Rodriguez, it looks like, is in 39th. It's a good second or so behind everybody, or the next person according to this, but he's closing in on, well, maybe he's blue flagged because he's a good ways behind everybody, but
Yeah, looks like Listoza in our classic hot lap fashion does have the fastest lap of the course so far with a 2:19.3. He is creeping down on those 2:18 times. I was seeing him run very consistently the last time. Looks like he's closing in on Ethan Marvin. Look like he's moving into strike for his next pass here coming up.
Different part of the track. Cryer looks like he just pulled himself away from the wall. I'm not sure. He's still running. Like he's back on the track now, but I'm not sure if he took serious damage or what happened with that incident. Just kind of scrolling through and saw that he's pulled himself out of the grass.
Yeah, Marvin and Listoza are very, very close to each other coming through. I think this could turn out. This is one of those battles between two very consistent drivers that you're following the other one, just hoping and praying that they're going to make a mistake going through the next corner. It looks like
yeah.
Listoza was a little faster, pulls out, but doesn't quite get the move in before the chicane here. Having to go out a little wide, pushing Marvin in a little bit, but he is definitely fighting his way to the top here.
So I'm looking at some of the statistics here for the people who have already pitted. Most of the bottom of the leaderboard: Jess Osborne, Daniel Schmitzer, Wolkowitz, Katavgar. I'm sorry, I'm probably butchering names. I'll stop. The pit times here, even the fast ones, it's looking a minute 20, minute 23, minute 30, and I mean total time stopped in just a few seconds. So we're talking splashes of fuel, maybe a few liters, but just that to get to the pit lane or to the pit stop through the pit lane is just an enormous amount of time. So as the rest of the leaderboard pits, we got to take at least a minute and a half off of their lead. I mean, you're going to see these gaps, see the drivers on the bottom come flying up that leaderboard. As long as they can hold clean laps and nobody gets teleported for damage or anything like that, it's going to be quite the shakeup.
Absolutely, and it's definitely, I don't know where you kind of fall into it. I'm one of those that I prefer to pit a little bit early. I would rather take my hit on time, and towards the end of the race start seeing yourself tick up. You don't have to worry about where you're going to end up sitting after your pit. You can just kind of relax after that point and just focus on driving as well as you can.
So normally last season the tactic I used, I'd have to agree with you, is that I pitted early to get out of the mess of the pack and try to just be able to hot lap, because it's the easiest, calmest way to get my laps down and be consistent. With this track though, with what I've heard about fuel consumption and how big the track is and how different the times are for the different sections, and then also how long it takes to get through pit, I'm leaning towards pitting a little bit later and just trying to make it through the tumultuous middle of the pack fun, for lack of a better term. But I'm not actually sure. I don't know. I haven't actually decided officially, but initially I agreed. Usually I agree, but this is going to be a unique track for me, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be tough, but checking back in on this battle, we've been watching it here for a second. Listoza is trying everything in his power to get around Marvin, but Marvin is just being as consistent as all get out, even in the face of being pushed so hard to put laps down. They are very, very close in their pace. It looks like they're both running 225s with about 4/100ths of a second difference between the two of them. So figuring out where to pass is tough with disparity like that.
Yeah, that's incredible. Going to our chat here, someone's asking about Diggs in this race. Diggs is currently 6th. Last lap was a 220.5, and his best lap was a 220.03. So 9 laps in, it looks like, I can't speak to how consistent he's been overall, but it looks like he's holding his own at 6th place. That's pretty good. He has not pitted yet, but he's still top of the leaderboard, and he's trying to close in on Listoza as best he can. He's about 2.5 seconds behind him right now.
I was gonna say with a pace like 220, that is, if he can hold that for the entire race and you know, maybe knock off a few tenths here and there coming through the race, he's definitely in a good place. I mean, he's definitely not sitting at the fastest of our drivers here. He just broke into the 219s with a 219.962, but he definitely is proving the very, very repeated point of, you know, your hot lap times may not matter if you can't keep it up.
Oh, yes. Yep.
It looks like Listoza, sorry to cut you off there, was able to pass Marvin.
He did it.
Was just blazing ahead of him. He was definitely holding him back a little bit. It looks like we already have a half-second disparity between the two of them. So Listoza pulling out into 4th place. He's going in on Saracone now. We'll have to see how this battle turns out here in the next couple of laps.
That'll be fun to see if he can build a lead or if it's going to be battle sector by sector going through.
Absolutely, and of course, always checking on a crowd favorite here. GB3 is sitting in 18th place, has a best lap of a 220 sitting right now, but looks like this race may be a little bit rougher for the Astons. Trembling with a 219.8. I think these are the only drivers that I know of, and especially in D4, that are still running the Aston Martins. After last season, they were really good, but most people made that switch to Porsche or Ferrari.
Yeah, the Ferrari was, I mean, it was a popular choice, but I feel after driving it, comparing it to several other vehicles, it is definitely an easy choice. If you wanted a stable, fast, competent, I mean, there's whatever word you want to use there, but yeah, it was an easy choice overall, I'd say.
I was all over the Porsche bandwagon after season 6, and then
100%. Yep.
Of course, ACC had to drop the update and make an even nicer driving car than the old 992. So I ended up making the switch, but man, was it a tough one.
And the sound. The Porsche was all about that sweet, sweet noise, and then the Ferrari came and was like, I'm starting to question it now.
Exactly, especially sitting back down in some of the lower divisions, we actually can have some time apparently to sit back and appreciate the sounds of our cars, unlike I'm sure D4 here. Looks like we have a good move from, that was Valley, who was that? Looks like we had a pass there. Coming around a corner. Looks like it may be blue flag, though. Some of these drivers are sending it up that hill coming around.
It looks like Cryer is trying to unlap himself Cryer is trying to unlap himself around Selena Boonstra as he is 1 lap down. But he is riding all over her tailpipe right now trying to get past her. But she is... I don't think she's playing defense. I think she just might have a slightly faster line. And she's just holding her line, just keeping it ahead. That's got to be quite the battle to try to pass as you're a blue flag.
Especially, I mean, pitting so early in the race, and with as long as a pit as this is, you're going to start getting blue flagged. And of course, you know, having to yield to that, even if you're the faster driver, trying to make up that second gap within 1 lap is definitely going to prove challenging for some of these drivers to try to avoid getting blue flagged again.
Oh yeah, and something I just thought about too with that long pit time. Normally when you go to pit, your tires end up cooling down. But I mean, a 1.5 minute pit, like your tires are, I mean, they've got to be super cold. So you're coming out of that, going to the first chicane, coming out of the pits, going to the first chicane with cold brakes, cold tires, and a blue flag. I mean, that's got to be, like, you really have to be on your toes. Make sure you hit your brake points a little bit early, warm yourself back up, try to stay out of the way, keep it clean. Because the last thing you want is to come out of the pit and then have to go back to the pit for damage. Like, that's just a really good way to ruin a race.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially after you get on your game, it is very hard to kind of rein yourself back in again to remind yourself that tires are cold. You need to take a lap, a couple seconds slower than maybe what you were putting down before you got into it to try to catch back up again. But especially in a race like this, I mean, it's an hour-long race, but when you're behind the wheel, you're thinking that every second counts throughout the
Oh,
entire
absolutely.
thing.
Yeah,
And
every second, sorry, keep going. Sorry.
I was just gonna say every second, and sometimes that can lead to you missing out another 2-3 minutes on the race because you trying to squeeze out that last tenth just means a wall.
Oh, yeah, and that's unfortunately a very real risk. It looks like we got another three-way battle. Schmitzer, Osborne, and Daniels. I'm sorry, Daniels, Osborne, and not Schmitzer, Barker, right? What am I doing right here? Osborne was really close to passing Daniels, but it looks like he fell behind and just got passed. Okay. Going into sector 1, he was looking to pass him, and then I guess something happened. Maybe he lost his line.
Yeah, it looks like he pulled right around him on that corner there, was able to just... Those passes are definitely the most satisfying coming throughout the race. Being able to hit that, you just find that sweet spot throughout the line and are able to pass back by. But it looks like Listoza is closing in slowly but surely on Sarcone. We're definitely going to have a battle coming up here as those two drivers are going to have to duke it out. Listoza putting down the fastest lap for tonight with a 2:19.3 so far. Not seeing any drivers dip down into the 2:18 marks as we saw in qualifying. A lot of these guys have, but I mean,
Right.
for a race pace being this low already is nothing to scoff at. We're almost halfway through a race here, and Maxwell is still holding that front. Maxwell, Valley, and Sarcone, first, second, and third, all staying strong.
That's fantastic. I missed the actual incident, but it looks like Botella had a bit of an incident or a bit of touching with the wall coming out of the Louvre, and I think there might have been another driver involved, but I missed it. It looks like he's still holding his line though, so maybe he didn't get it too much. Oh, got a little squirrely there, but maybe he's gonna keep going. Maybe it wasn't that bad.
Let's say that's another thing to add to the points too of drivers that are just going to deal with some of these damages, because we know as soon as you go into that pits, it's going to take you almost 2 minutes to get through it with damage. At one point, are you better off just dealing with some of that driving? And how bad is that damage really going to end up for you? It looks like Listoza is trying to make a move here on Sarcone and just makes it past him with a nice pass there. I'm sure those drivers will be going back at it for a second, but it looks like Listoza is going to close himself into a podium third as of right now, halfway into the race. He, I want to say he started in 7th place, sorry. So he's made up 4 positions throughout his race and has been fighting tooth and nail for every second of it.
So it does look like Botella is pitting. So he must have taken some damage to justify a pit, or if he's going for his mandatory pit anyways, he might just be doing that. I guess we'll keep an eye on how long he's actually in the pits.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's real tough to see that 2+ minute pit, especially doing decent in a race, trying to stay consistent.
Yeah, and then.
But speaking of consistency, I mean, looking at some of these drivers, Maxwell with a 2:20.2, definitely going back to our point. I mean, these drivers aren't putting down the 2:19s, 2:18s we were seeing in qualifying, but still managing to stay real consistent with it and keep going through this race. I'm sure as we get around to this point now, our tires are going to start wearing down, going to start feeling the effects of some warm tires, I'm sure, for some of these drivers sliding through corners, and just general tire wear. I always notice it about the halfway mark.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Between the tire wear and then depending on how much fuel you took, because we did talk that as well, you're now at least, if you haven't pitted, you're at half the amount of fuel that you started with, which will definitely throw off the balance of your car and likely affect your line based on the balance as well.
Yeah,
and see how that
absolutely.
plays in.
Looks like Tremeling is in 6th place now. He's been climbing pretty consistently. Like we were talking earlier, he's sticking with the Aston Martin. Looks like he's going to take the probably slightly corner-cutting line there, going through, trying to build some time back on Santos, trying to get ahead of him.
Lupin. Uh-oh. Picard's got a... Looks like he went a little bit wide coming out of the Louvre. Oh, he's back on, though. Maybe he stayed out of the wall. That would be... obviously, that would be ideal.
We got a good 3-way battle going on here. It looks like GB3, Picard, and is that Air? Yeah, that's Air. Are going at it right now. GB3 is not just passing Picard, actually going to push him all the way out wide, and Picard having to slot in right behind him. GB3 is very infamous for his racecraft and ability to squeeze around drivers like we just saw him do. But I'm gonna say I almost feel bad. I feel like we need to keep the camera on Lostoza. He is definitely doesn't seem like he's gonna be here for long with some of these times he's been posting. He definitely seems like a D3 boy to me. I don't know, but
I mean, he's definitely got it in him. There's no denying that. The lap times prove it, and it's not even hot lapping because he's not in first place out there on his own, doing his own thing today. He's battling his way through, and he didn't even qualify first, if I remember correctly.
No, he actually qualified 7th place. We had some silver drivers putting down. We had the one gold driver and then a couple of silver drivers that were putting down the times. Just like we were talking, I mean, you really have one shot with those laps, and if you're just not feeling it for that 10 minutes that you have to set your lap time, it's all over for you.
Yep, and there's no getting it back. Looking at some of these gap times, a couple of these drivers. Levine's got a good 10+ second gap. Smalley's got a good 10+ second gap, and White Scarver. I'm just looking at it as a bad thing or a good thing. Personally, I look at it as a good thing. Like we were saying, you get plenty of time and space to set your best laps without having to worry about too much racecraft. Set consistent times, and they're all posting 220s, 221, 222. So it's not bad times by any stretch, especially for where we're at in the race with the wear on tires and the fuel, balance of the car, everything like that. So let's see what they can do in the second half of the race here.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone is showing time and time again why they deserve to be here in D4. I mean, we have some real fast drivers going through. Looks like we got a lot of hot lapping. It looks like Scusa is trying to just squeeze past. It looks like that was a blue flag pass around this. Can't quite see the number on him, but he's trying to make up a little bit of time here after he passed GTG there. Looks like GTG is falling a little bit behind him after that pass, but still holding real consistent in number 9.
I'll say honestly, with this being D4, I think anything above P15, you're solid. You're doing excellent. But honestly, if you're just in D4, you're doing excellent.
I was just about to bring that exact point up.
These guys are quick.
I would not be sitting in P15 if I was putting times down in this race right now. Starting to see a lot more of these drivers dipping down into the 2:19 times. Lostoza is still holding his lead, but very slimly to Maxwell there. As he starts lapping drivers, it looks like that purple Lamborghini there had to let the 2 by, but did he pass Valley?
I did not see.
No, Valley's still in second there, so Lostoza is definitely making his time up.
Yeah, he's putting himself in third. Man, he really is. With 22 minutes to go, so it's not coming down to the wire, but it's definitely coming down to anybody who has not pit has to plan for that. I mean, plan for 2 solid minutes just to be safe. It'll be a little bit less, but 2 solid minutes of this race is going to be in pits 2.5 minutes left of the race. The pit closes, so that's a good 5 minutes right there. So you got about 16.5 minutes to get to make up any positions you want to.
Absolutely, and it looks like most of our from first to 19th still needs to pit, and hasn't done so. So it'll be interesting to see how some of these faster drivers, like position 20 Smalley here. I mean, with the times that he's putting down, looks like he has a 2:19.6. He just ran a 2:21. But when you have that minute and 40 or so second lap time, he's going to be able to put up a couple of positions for that.
Absolutely. Looks like GB3 is closing in on air with a vengeance. Like
Yeah,
he's bringing the heat. Let's see if he can squeeze past him. Same with Sweeney is closing in on Selena Boonstroke going into, oh gosh, what is that, Baguette Corner? I don't actually know. It's a French track, so we're going to call it Baguette Corner. And straight into Spaghetti Straight, which is Italian, but I'm going to use it anyways. But he is giving her a run for her money. Vine is coming through Baguette Corner as well. A few seconds behind Sweeney and Boonstroke, but that only improves his chances of being able to post his best times if he wants to.
looks like Listoza drops out in front as Maxwell and Valley both take their pit. So our top 1 and 2 are going to go ahead and pit, which could be an interesting strategy coming up here.
Here we go.
Definitely going to be interesting to see how far Listoza tries to push this. I mean, he definitely has some time to put out some laps. We'll see if it works out for him.
Yeah, this is like you were saying. This is going to be the big shakeup with the long pit window. Only less than 20 minutes left in the race, and how many people at the top of the leaderboard right now have not pitted? Like, it's with that minute and a half, minute 40. Like, that's a lot of time that you have to make up, or that if you're behind can use to make up for a better pace, better placement.
Absolutely, and just watching the leaderboards here of Maxwell and Valley just dropping way down, and it's going to continue to do so. But our top drivers here, I mean, other than Valley and Maxwell there, have still yet to take their pit, and going to be interesting to see where they end up as it goes through. I know a lot of these faster drivers like pushing it more off to the end to try to squeeze out any time they can with it. I know we have some Diggs fans in here. He is sitting pretty in 3rd place now, still needs to take his pit, so most likely we'll toss up a little bit, but it is I mean, just like we've said time and time again, it's an interesting pit to see all these drivers take differently.
Absolutely. And then, based on pit times, I don't think we've seen anybody who we've noticed has taken tires. So with it coming up on the last bit of the race, as you were talking about adrenaline earlier, we got adrenaline running, fuel running low, balance of the car definitely changes. Worn out tires, and then also trying to make up that minute 40, 2 minutes that you're losing by going into pits. And I can imagine you're getting some white knuckles on some steering wheels coming up here in the next couple minutes.
100%, and especially, I mean, it's just sitting in the pit lane, doing just smacking that pit limiter is. I'm sure you're white knuckling the steering wheel, hoping to grab out that extra 10th as you leave through. But it looks like checking back in, and we've had several drivers drop off. We're now up to 37, so I think we started with 42.
Oh, wow.
We've dropped off several drivers since the start of the race. It looks like five of our drivers have either had technical difficulties or smacked a wall somewhere where they shouldn't have.
That is unfortunate. But I mean, I guess like you said, that's racing.
Absolutely, it's one of those that it sucks, but it's part of the game, part of the series, and there's not much you can do. That's why we have drop races.
Yes, that's a very good point.
I definitely could use for a couple more myself, but that's that's another conversation.
Where do we start that petition here with the additional drop races?
Say I need a good 6 drop races throughout a season, and I'll try to squeeze out 3 races that feel good to me.
But full points for those races, of course.
Oh, absolutely.
It's only fair.
I'm surprised we haven't seen any drivers drop into the 218s. I mean, I know we've been running full fuel, but as we're getting to the last 16 minutes and 27 seconds of this race, still everyone's running in the 219s. Listoza is up with a 219.2 still as their fastest lap.
219, yeah. That is kind of surprising, but at the same time, I don't know. I guess maybe they decided to play it a little bit safer, cut back on the lap times to reduce the chances of getting a drive-through penalty. I mean, you invalidate your quality lap, you might not, or you risk your quality lap invalidation for the chance to get a higher starting position. But once you're running laps, the last thing you want, like we were saying, is a drive-through penalty. So I imagine, or I'm imagining, several drivers might, sacrifice just a little bit of time going through the Louvre or Baguette Corner or any of the other more technical corners where the chances of them invalidating a lap. Oh, I just saw Adams looks like invalidated his lap going through a corner. I'm gonna call that one Krebs corner. And its back end got a little bit loose.
Definitely some very fast corners that you're pushing to the very edge. I mean, you're definitely trying to do that with all these corners, but I've definitely noticed that some of these real fast corners are tough to keep up on. Very easy, just like last week we had that very fast right-hander. That it was one of those that you either nail or you're having to slow down a lot on to avoid.
Yeah. Speaking of that, if I remember correctly, in one of the races, I don't remember if it was the practice race or not, a couple people actually went too wide into that corner and somehow made that not fail miserably, which was absolutely incredible. Because, yeah, that corner was that super high-speed, fast right-hander coming out of the long straight in Picard was deadly if you got it wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Leave it to the D4 guys to find all the cheating lines. I mean, the fast lines, of course.
Right. Yeah. No, look, we don't condone cheating, even if they're doing it. But we wouldn't know because that would be cheating.
Exactly. It looks like Picard managed to sneak it back out in front of GB3 again. I didn't see when that happened, but Picard is definitely putting down a hard push. Still hasn't taken his pit, neither him or GB3, so we'll probably see him drop off that top 10 position right now, but looks like Valley made it back out in his racing. He is sitting pretty in 13th place right now, second of the drivers that have pitted if we're looking at that. Him and Maxwell have both pitted. Looks like Maxwell is sitting in position 11. Valley's sitting position 13, split by Levine, who's gonna have to take his pit soon. So,
yeah, the clock is ticking, and man, yeah, I'm curious to see how this is gonna go with oh gosh, with how long the pits are gonna take and how much time the other drivers are gonna be able to make up. Maybe they're trying to push their tires and their brakes while they're hot as long as possible so they can maximize the time, knowing that when they come out of pits they're going to lose about 3/4 of a lap getting everything back up to temp, and so it makes more sense to do it this way. I mean, I have to imagine they have a strategy. They've been doing this longer than me, and they're all faster than me, so clearly Absolutely. They know what they're doing.
I mean, if this is anything to tell, I mean, we had Maxwell and Valley both P1, P2. They dropped back, it seems, about 10 positions throughout the course of their pit, and that is a pretty deadly time to take. I mean, 10 positions right at the end of the race. If you figure that out for some of these other drivers that haven't taken it yet, then it's always a gamble of trying to time it right to not get other drivers coming around out on the track while you're trying to leave the pits to get a smooth exit.
Absolutely, yeah. Especially coming out of the Louvre there, if you swing it a little bit wide or you hit one of the curbs wrong, you can definitely find yourself encroaching in on that pit lane exit, and that's also, that's quite dangerous if someone's coming out of it, and there's really nothing you can do if you're coming out of the pits because you're restricted to that lane. So you're playing just like hold on for whatever you got.
Yeah, and seems like most of our top drivers, we've got, let's see, got several drivers still needing to pit coming on the last 10 minutes of the race. We got about 11 minutes 35 seconds left coming up here. We're gonna see a lot of pits coming up and a lot of position changes as these last drivers have to file into that dreaded pit lane.
Oh, it looks like oh gosh. Looks like Botella just pulled past Schmitzer for between 27th and 28th place. They just swapped. Well, it also looks like Botella just invalidated his lap going a little bit wide. Hopefully that doesn't earn him a penalty. It doesn't look like it did, so he should still be good. But yeah, we're still battling for positions all the way through this entire leaderboard.
Very impressive coming on the last 10 minutes of the race. I'm sure this is where it really sets in, especially being just outside of some of those milestones, just outside to 12th, 10th, 11th place.
Yeah, absolutely.
And top 5, top 3 really trying to push. It looks like Trembling is sitting nice in 4th. It looks like him and GB3 swapped from last week. GB3 definitely did a bit better than Trembling, but looks like they're going to be a real good team and one to keep an eye out on from, especially if they're their strengths and weaknesses kind of line up well enough to be able to go around tracks like this.
So we talked about before the race started of what teams or drivers we were kind of trying to keep our eye on or anything like that. I mean, obviously we can see the hot lap leaderboard and we see the drivers that posted the most competitive times for their divisions and splits. And then you get into the race here and you just see like the different tactics with pitting early, pitting late, validated laps, invalidated laps, penalties, accidents, incidents, and stuff like that. And I gotta say, that it's quite the shakeup. Like there's, it's Lustosa qualified 7th this time, I think we said. And he's just took the lead over after the other leader pitted. Ooh. Adam's getting a little bit squirrely going into the first chicane there, or coming out of the first chicane there. He held it though. Anyways, yeah, it's just the dynamic and the shift up with Spa, and I'm guessing I'm associated with the size of the track and the size of the sectors, and how much that affects all these drivers and their lap times, and have their consistency and their ability to utilize the racecraft going into the different types of corners, and then just the results. It's just not what I expected. All good results, but just if I'd have picked leaders and then placements going down the line, I'd have gotten all of them wrong. Which is why I don't gamble.
I was just about to say that exact same thing. This is proving time and time again why I shouldn't gamble. Oh
man, yeah, no. If anything, I'm sorry.
I probably would have put some money on Lustosa up at the front of the pack here. We'll see if he's able to hold on to his lead after he pits. I mean, some of these drivers are bringing it down to the wire. We got 5 minutes and 50 seconds left in the pit window, and it looks like some of these drivers are going to try to milk every second they possibly can.
And I am here for it. That's all I can say to that. I can't say it's going to work or not, and I can't say what I think will work because, man, I don't know what they're doing, but I am here for it.
Hey, we don't want to inflict the commentator's curse on
oh yeah, no,
coming in the last 8 minutes of the race here. But
every racer is doing a fantastic job, and I love it.
Everyone's doing a great job. If everyone fails, then well, we can't say too much. Say, it looks like Maxwell and Valley, exactly. Looks like Maxwell and Valley are... Oh, Maxwell dipped way up into 5th place there. Looks like we finally have a couple of these drivers taking their pits. Lustosa still holding off on it. I mean, realistically, he has to pit this next lap, or maybe he'd be able to squeeze it in on the next, but we're starting to see some of these top guys start pitting.
I was say I just saw the pit markers come up on the leaderboard, and like, and there they go, falling down. I mean, it's expected. They're not doing anything wrong. It's just kind of, it's sudden. It's very sudden. Because these guys aren't wasting time on pits, missing their pit limiter, or not lining up their stops correctly. They know what they're doing. They've pitted before. They're in and out. But man, just to get there.
Yeah, it looks like Picard finally takes his pit. Looks like everyone's pretty much filing into it. We got, looks like four drivers still yet to do their pit. Definitely going to feel nice to be in this top position, but I don't think they're going to be able to hold it off.
I mean, I'm with you, but I'm going to bet against you just for the sake of betting here and say they're going to do it. They're going to pull it off.
And say,
boy Picard's going to do it. Adams is going to do it. He's going to place top 15.
Looks like Nate in the chat's trying to get us to start on the fantasy league for ACC, and like I said, I think that's a very, very dangerous choice.
That's it. Yes. That's a very gentle word for it. It's dangerous. Yes.
Let's say Sarah Cohn finally takes his pit. It looks like Listoza and Tremeling still need to do that.
The SRA mods are hovering over the mute button as we speak. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. Looks like we got another battle. We were just talking about the people coming out of pits. Adams just came out of the pits. It looks like Barker is trying to close in on him. He's 0.9 seconds behind. Adams is pulling away, but he's closing in on him, realistically. But I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for everybody equally. Not showing favorites.
Oh, there's absolutely no favorites here. Everyone gets equally commentator cursed, or at least we try to here. If one person has to have a bad race, that's going to be everyone. Levine finally takes his pit. Looks like Listoza and Tremeling are the last two pushing out in positions 1 and 2 there. They're really going to push this off to the last second. We have 2 minutes and 18 seconds until the pit closes here. But they're going to have to pit this next lap. It'll be interesting to see how far back they drop. Looks like Maxwell is making back up his time again. He is already sitting pretty in 3rd place. As soon as Listoza and Tremeling drop into pits, he's going to take over P1 again. Looks like Sarah Cohn may have managed to sneak in there, looking like he's going to be P2, at least being able to sneak in there after Listoza and Tremeling pop in there, and Valley is sitting position 5 right now.
That's going to be... Yeah, golly, you're right. Listoza's really going to drop down quite a bit with a minute 40 added to his time there. Man, that's going to be... I mean, I guess the top... Yeah, everybody did, though, so it's just going to completely reset.
Yeah,
what a crazy pit time.
Driving through the pits now. We're about to watch him start real dropping off. I mean, he made up a good amount of time, but it is not a minute and 40 seconds. Tremeling's going into the pits for our last 2, which means Maxwell is here before too terribly long. Should be our P1 driver.
And then it just comes down to, can you hold your line in the most important part of the race aside from lap 1? And that's the last few minutes.
Let's say we have 3 minutes and 20 seconds left in the race, so this is the make it or break it time of, I'm sure, a lot of these drivers really trying to push in. It looks like Picard's sitting nice in position 12, but
yeah,
let's see, Air is trying to close in on him as fast as he possibly can. This is the make it or break it time of a lot of potential risky moves can be taken, but a lot of these drivers that I'm sure really don't want to do that.
I mean, you don't want to do it, but like you said, you also want to make up as much time as you possibly can. So I mean, it's kind of that. Do you want to push it? So, case in point, Smalley here can't get much closer to Diggs. Like he's getting everything he can, and watching him go into the braking zones, he's really pushing it as much as he can to get as close to his bumper as he can. And it doesn't look like, I mean, this close to the end of the race, it doesn't look like he's willing to let up. It looks like he wants that position. It's not first, second, or third, but he wants it anyways.
Yeah, I think we're dead wrong. It looks like Listoza may have brought up a nice enough gap to be able to pit and come back out in time for position 1. He is
No
back out on
way.
the track for position 1 with Maxwell in second place. Looks like about 3 seconds behind him.
I'm going to make a mental note of that. I just have to find an extra 3 seconds per lap and then just push the pit to the absolute maximum.
I was
For
going to
tomorrow's
say
race. I might do the same thing.
if Nate had any doubts, oh, it looks like Maxwell got a drive-through. That's going to drop him way back towards the end of this race here. This is exactly what we were talking about. I mean, that is a big position loss for him.
Oh, that is, yeah, that's going to be painful. And this close to the end of the race, too. That's pretty much going to be, that's it then. He's going to finish going through the pits.
Yeah, absolutely. But like I was saying before that, if this was any doubt to Nate of why we shouldn't be in the fantasy league, that was a proof right there. I thought for sure Maxwell was going to pop up all the way to the top, but
yeah.
I didn't see what he got a drive-through for, but I'm going to assume with as close as I've seen some of these drivers being, it's probably enough corner cutting penalties to do it.
I mean, yeah, the we've touched on it several times, but the track limits are very generous, I think is the word that's the word I'm going to use. But also some of these high-speed corners, like you were saying, just like the high-speed right-hander in Picard, you go into them and you have to commit to them, and there's a bit of understeer to get the ideal line, but you just get just a little bit too much or on the throttle just a little bit too early, and it'll push you right outside track limits, and I mean, you're committed at that point. There's not much you can do.
Yeah,
Stack up
absolutely.
a couple of those. Yeah.
It's
You end up with
definitely tough racing, but yeah, it looks like Sercone. I mean, we're on our final lap. Here's Maxwell with that drive-through. He's going to go ahead and take it. I'm sure that's, I mean, I would be beating the wheel at this point right now.
absolutely
Dropping all
yeah.
the way back. I mean, he's already in 8th place, coming back. This exactly plays into you put all that time in, you get through a race, and sometimes these things just kind of happen.
They do,
But
yeah.
it looks like Listoza for a second week in a row. Obviously, things can still happen here, but he managed to pull into first even after his pit there. I didn't think that was possible.
That's fantastic amount of time that he made up to be able to do that. Absolutely amazing.
It from 7th to 1st, and he was very consistent. He still hasn't beat his best time of a 2:19.2. But really trying to push it.
Maxwell made himself out of the pit and put himself into the wall, leaving the pit. We talked earlier about how dangerous the pit exit is with how bumpy it is and how it'll throw your car off. And coming out of the pit, he bounced a bit, knocked into the in the last lap. I don't know how much damage he took, but hopefully he can hold his 14th place this last lap. It's a long lap, too. Oh,
Yeah,
gosh.
You hate to see it. He's sitting back in 14th place now. That drive-through is really a killer, just like we predicted at the start of the race here. I mean, if anyone gets a drive-through, it's going to hurt a lot. And we saw it in the last 2 laps of the race.
Yeah, got it at... well, I guess there's no good time. I was going to say you got it at the worst time, but honestly, there's no good time to get a drive-through penalty.
Yeah, well, for the second week in the row, Listoza pulls off another win. An impressive one at that. I mean, pushing that pit to the back end may be a strategy here. Looks like number 1 Listoza, number 2 Sercone finishing it up. Number 3 Valley, who was originally 2nd place, so it looks like he ended up losing 1 position to Sercone there. Martin Diggs finishing 4th, Smalley 5th, and that's our top 5 for the night. As our other drivers are gonna finish up here.
So it looks like Picard is looking to come in 11th. Air 12th, Lloyd 13th, Maxwell 14.
I'm gonna say we were following White Scarver there for a while. He ends up, it looks like it's gonna be 15th place finish. Where did Tremeling finish up? 7th place. He was in 2nd place there for a while, so he only lost 5 positions by that pit. So GB3 finishing 18th. This is really gonna push him up high on the team championship here, giving him a nice early lead.
Yeah, you're gonna love that little buffer he's building in. I'm still standing by of all the statements I made. I'm gonna stand by the one that I made about waiting till at least 3 races before predicting who's actually gonna hold this lead, because I mean the next race we talked about it, but it's gonna be wet, and wet is a game changer when it comes to sim racing. I mean racing in real life too, obviously, but we're in simulation world here. So I'm curious to see if the same tactics and leaders and stuff can hold off, or if it's gonna be a complete change up yet again.
Yeah,
this was
absolutely.
a good race though.
And yeah, definitely a lot of fun stuff happened throughout the race. And as we finish up, our last few drivers pull across the finish line. That is it for race 2, week 2 of Division 4 on Spa. Gonna say we'll have to kind of keep an eye out and pull up some drivers as we see them come through Discord here to ask them a couple of questions coming in.
Oh. Hopefully everyone enjoyed the race as much as we did.
Absolutely. I want to see what happened with Marvin there. What ended up going on? See if we can see him popping into any of the chats. But that last second drive through was definitely a big killer for him.
Oh yeah, that's gotta be weighing down in his head, just kicking himself. Like, but there's no real consolation for that.
Absolutely. We have our P2 driver that I'm gonna pull up here, see if he has anything to say after his race. He definitely was pretty consistent. Hey, how we doing, Valley? See if we get anything. His mic is muted right now. Looking for that super sweet 2nd place commentary. Anything?
Or do you have to unmute him yourself, or how does unmuting work here?
No, his mic is muted in here, but he may have ran off there for a second after the race. I know an hour-long race can definitely put a little bit of a damper. It looks like Maxwell may have jumped into the chat here. Go ahead and pull him and see if he has anything to say. Hey Maxwell, how we doing?
You know, a little.
Say we were following you. This is not the reason I want to be pulling you up here. You were being real consistent there for a while, but what happened with that drive-through right at the end?
Oh no, to be honest, yeah, I was feeling really good. Everything was super smooth. Yeah, I just made a mistake and ended up going right over the hill on Radion and just cut it. So it is what it is, but you learn from the small things.
Yeah, absolutely. You were real consistent out there for a while. It really hurt to see it. Kind of cements our what we've been saying of it's so easy to lose a race just like that. I mean, you were up top, you were holding up positions for a while. You had that early lead, and were just holding that for a long time. Decided to take a little bit of an earlier pit over Lastoza there.
Yeah, I did take a bit of a risk with that too, and I knew I made a good decision by the time I had come out because I had pretty clear air. And as I was catching up to people, I pipped off P3, I think, and I got the P2 with a lap car in front of me. I could see P1, and I could want it really bad, and I think that's why I made the mistake. But the pressure everybody else was putting behind me the entire time was just, yeah, I think that's what was making me so fast and consistent, to be honest. But I appreciate this.
It was a tough race. I look forward to looking at you when we get into this wet Watkins. How are you feeling about the wet race next week?
I love wet races. It's just absolute
Oh,
mayhem.
fantastic.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say you and Toaster can get along then.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm not racing him. Are you kidding? No.
I love wars of attrition, and I love long races. So as long as I don't make any mistakes like I did today, I think we might be seeing the Mr. Machine on the podium soon.
Absolutely, you got this. I look forward to keeping an eye out as we come up here, and thanks for the commentary. So,
Yeah, likewise. Have a good season, guys.
hey, you two have a good one.
That was fantastic.
Let's say we were talking about him. I think we're trying to get our P1 driver in here. We actually found out over the last week that he does not speak very good English, so we may have a translator lined up if we can get to it in a timely manner. But we were talking about him enough at the race. We were looking at him, some of his battles with Jess. Let's pull in the one, the only, the Jean-Luc. Hey, Mike, how we doing? Unless he's gone as well.
I'm here.
Oh, hey, how's it going? We were following you on your race there quite a bit. Looks like you had some good back and forth going with Jess. What was going on?
Oh man, that was crazy. I mean, if you saw most of it, we were going back and forth between what did Beverly say? It was me, GB3, and let's find it. Johnny Air. He said we were just trading places the whole time. I think 3 back and forths. It was intense.
Yeah, we were. GB3 was definitely on you for some of those laps. We were able to tune in. He had one real good pass on you, push you just a little bit out. But how was the race feeling?
It was good until the tires started getting slippery, and it was like driving with 200 liters of fuel.
Oh wow!
I didn't like that.
That doesn't sound fun at all.
Nope.
I say we're asking some of our other drivers, but how are you feeling about Wet Watkins next week, or Watkins as, Wetkins as we're gonna start naming it?
Beats me. I don't even know what that track is.
Gonna be definitely interesting. I guess if you're learning a track fresh, it's gonna be tough for you to keep competitive in D4. But this is why we tune into the action.
If not, I'll do OBDA proud.
Absolutely. So I appreciate the commentary, and we'll keep you in mind.
All right,
thanks
guys.
Have a good one.
Oh man. The winner's teammate is standing by to join us. Lloyd.
Let's see. I am not seeing him in any of the race review chats. If you want to have him pop in there, we can
Sure.
have him pop in and get some commentary on Listozo's big win.
Let's see. Let's see if he can hop in a chat here. I just messaged him.
Yeah, we'll wait just a second. I do want to get some commentary on what's going on, and maybe get some good strategies for races coming up.
Yeah, tell us your secrets. We won't tell anyone, I promise.
Exactly.
We just want to help you.
Let's say here in D6 and D7, we are nothing but help. I was gonna say, I don't know if you can see him pop in anywhere, but let me know if you do. Listozo,
okay,
like we said before, I mean, it was not expected for him to pull the win out there at the end. Very, very tough. Obviously, he still made up a good enough time to really push through.
Yeah, he really did. To have made up enough time to be able to take a 1:40 pit and still come out in first. That is some serious hot lapping or racing or all of the above. Was really riding that ideal line. It was quite impressive to watch. And then, as we touched on our short conversation with Picard there, some of the battles that we had. I mean, he had one. Adams had one. Boonstra had a couple that we saw. Jess Osborne had a couple that we saw. Like there was some solid battles, just back and forth duking it out. Just absolutely amazing to watch.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting race throughout. We saw a lot of fun battles, like Picard was saying there with GB3. I mean, it was a close race for a lot of them.
It really was. I'm not seeing Lloyd in any of the chats.
Gonna say we may have to line something up. Like I said before, we definitely need to get something lined up to get a little bit of commentary from that team before inevitably Listozo gets bumped up to D3.
Oh,
I mean,
right, yeah.
He's gonna be in some hot competition coming up. He needs to load a sandbag or two on his car to keep going right here.
Yeah. Stick around for at least a couple more races, man. You're fun to watch.
Exactly. I was gonna say you can't be too fast. But I was gonna say, without seeing him here, we'll probably try to get something lined up for next week from him.
Yeah, we'll better coordinate that so that we can make sure he's ready to go.
I want to get some good commentary from him. Like we said, last two races, I mean, he ran away in the first race and definitely pulled off a little bit closer of a win this one, but that pit strategy seemed to do it all for him. That super late pit and it was just a run away at the end there. He managed to pull it off, but
yeah, he did. That was crazy good speed, crazy good accuracy, excellent racecraft. Just did everything he could right. I want to say everything right, but I'm sure he'll say he made a few mistakes somewhere in the race. I don't know where they were, but
absolutely nowhere.
Fantastically well done. Yeah, right. Every line was perfect. I'm like, I mean,
but
it looked perfect from that view.
Yeah, with that being said, I think we're about ready to sign off for this week. It's been a good week. Look forward to the next week's. Of course, thank you to all of our sponsors, Armentario, Documize, Retro Saga, Track Racer, and of course the one and only Ghost Setups. And of course everyone that supports SRA. Personally, all those names scrolling up top and then in the small picture there, they really help us do what we do here at SRA. But with that being said, I think we'll sign off for the week and look forward to next week's race 3, Watkins in the wet.
Yes, sir. See you guys there.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's been 3 long weeks here at SRA.
Welcome back to the best racing in North America, home of the SRA GT3 Team Series. 60 minutes of action-packed door-to-door racing, 6 divisions, 6 different championships on the line. Let's get ready for some action tonight.
An incident. Turn. We have Boardman at a yellow. Looks like he's dropping down positions there on the chicane as a bunch of cars are coming through.
Byron's going to take a dive in the Lexus.
Johnson looking to go down the inside of Maxwell.
And we're off and away for SRA.